welcome back, and this is the second lecture for perception. The first part of perception was related to the levels of perception and perceptual thresholds, and this particular lecture is about process of perception. So, the basic premises of this chapter is the process of perception formation and interrelation between the perception and the consumer's imagery. So, we first look at the process of perception. As we can see here, it is comprising of three major stages: selection, organization and interpretation. While organization, there is one interpreting variable or interpreting psychology, which intervening psychology rather I will say is the Gestalt psychology. So, now I explain the process. The first one is the selection. Selection is the first stage of the perception process. Selection rests on the verity that the customers opt for a small portion of the stimulus to which they are exposed to for conscious processing. It is alternatively termed as focal attention. And to obtain the customer's focal interest, an intensification of the sensory impulses is necessary. As I told in the previous module that the thresholds of the sensory receptors, when the customers actually start looking at it, looking at one particular message provided by the advertiser, either in the form of television advertisement or in the form of billboard, in which way it is noticed. For example, right now in Times of India, in say our Anandabazar Patrika, these in the first page, as a first hub page is coming as promotional thing, and maybe the features of the thing or the USP of the product is explained in the first side, and when you turn the site, then the details of the product and the brand name and everything else is being displayed. So, this is somewhat a change in the advertising pattern in the newspaper, and might be that may catch the attention of the customer. So, as I discussed in the previous module also, Ananda Milk Union, this was one of the very creative advertisement which was done so far, was to increase the milk consumption amongst the children, and this ad was created by Macan Erickson agency in Mumbai, and it came up with amazingly creative ad placed on one of the Mumbai's buildings, where you can see a child is strong enough by benefit, and that is the benefit of the milk, of course, to move the part of the building itself. So, it looks like the child is moving the building, but it is actually not. It is actually a banner or a billboard which has been placed in that way, which gives an perception that the child is moving the building block. So, this is something very innovative which catches the attention of the customer. Now comes, after something catches the attention of the customer, then we start organizing whatever we have seen. We started feeling something good about it, something bad about it. Once we have got the stimuli and some we already have a predisposed conception about, we have some kind of predisposed understanding about certain activities. So, we try to match this to and try to find out. For example, if in any ad a person, say John Abraham is being projected, then the kind of attire is, the kind of portrayal he is having probably shows some kind of macho image of the person. And if now he is attached to a particular brand, say a motorbike, then probably I will attach the personality of the motorbike with the personality of the celebrity. So, I will perceive the brand based on the whatever celebrities about the celebrity, the way I am perceiving. So, this may happen. So, that is what is the process of organization. So, it is the second stage, and customers categorize the stimuli into groups to make sense out of them. Basically, categorization process refers to the contrast between the perceived target and the categorical knowledge. It is the basic awareness activity that includes all form of stimulus situation, and one of the fundamental theory for perceptual organization is known as Gestalt psychology. Gestalt is not any person. Gestalt is a German word that means the pattern or configuration. And Gestalt psychology is a school of psychology that was initially developed on the fundamental principles of perceptual organization. Once we receive the information through our sensory organs, how do we organize that information in our mind? So, first it relates to our understanding of how and why we perceive things, and one of the very interesting Gestalt principle is the Phi phenomenon. It is the optical illusion that allows us to perceive constant movement instead of a sequence of images, like Christmas light. We feel that it is continuously moving, but it is not, it is actually a perception the way it has been created. Some very interesting Gestalt principles are many. For the shortage of time, we are actually selecting 4 or 5 basic Gestalt principles. So, one is Figureground, in which it is embedded. In 2005, there was an ad of Raymond's, the ad of Complete Man, where the father is in the maybe a fancy dress competition of the school of his child, and there all the parents at every moment when the kids is getting ready, when the stage show is on, everybody is on the selfie. Everybody is taking photographs in their respective mobile phones. Now, this shows the kind of technology driven era we are in, but it also shows that the one particular person who is wearing the Raymond this thing, he stands out of this crowd. He cherishes the moment of love, pride and joy for his children. He is not taking any photo, rather he is paying attention. And the song, the jingle which was there in this particular ad is also like what I want is you look at me. So, this is what is the jingle, and the concept was that you are paying more attention on the social need of the child rather than you are just on your individualistic need of taking photos. So, how the person stands out? So, that was the Figureground which was shown, that the consent part. There could be many, like how do we, for example, Hyundai when it had a car called Accent long back. Now, Accent they have already removed from their portfolio. So, when Accent was there was a ad of a suitable boy. So, which used to show that when the boy there was a projection of this Hyundai Accent car behind the boy, the father of the girl is interested to get his daughter married to that son, to that particular boy, and feels him suitable, while the car somebody else takes away, he feels that okay, this boy is not good. So, the suitability of the bridegroom depends on whether he has a Hyundai Accent or not. So, which means it shows the kind of esteem need of the customer, or which they were trying to portray, or suitability of the particular person, which shows his elegance or his social status. It is a status need of the customer which they were projecting. Now, Hyundai, when they came with the ad of Hyundai Accent, which is a very recent one, Hyundai Accent, it shows the kind of family sedan, compact family sedan with all comfort and joy of riding. Here, the concept of family has been used because the father is taking the child to the airport to receive their grandparents. And also in one particular another slice, it shows the husband and wife are traveling in that car. So, the comfort, the relaxation the car is having, and although it is a low price sedan, most of the sedans cost more than around more than 10 lakhs ideally if it is a good sedan, but in Accent it is having around 5 to 6 lakh, within a range of 5 to 6 lakhs rupees it is coming. So, anyway, it is a concept of sedan which is the middle class's aspiration. Indians are very fond of sedan cars. So, it is an aspiration of the middle class person, but at the same time it is also showing that it is a family sedan. So, this is how it could be that is how we have we see they even the sequel which the ad has shown, that the family is going to bring the grandfather and the grandmother, and the other one, that when the husband is traveling with the wife of accent, or when the suitability of the bridegroom and his status need is being shown with accent. All these are actually embraced on the Indian philosophy and the culture, by which we are interpreting it as it is a family sedan, or we are interpreting something as a as a product of status need. So, that is how we are interpreting it, because that is how our that is how we are grounded. Then is it could be another one, that is simplicity and fragrance. This is a good form, like Gujarat tourism uses the photo of the lion. Gujarat is having a Gir forest, and this Gir forest, as we know that lions are in all amongst all Indian forests, only in Gir forest we can see the lion. So, they are portraying that wildlife there. Sometimes it may be proximity with a brand. Proximity, like Dabur, you see the logo of Dabur itself, it shows the plant, and then in below that Dabur is written. So, which shows that you are very proximity to the herbal or natural things, which Dabur actually wants to portray. So, the understanding about Dabur comes from the proximity it is showing with the trees, plants, herbs in its logo. It may be grouping also. Sometimes we may feel that in the superstore, sometimes Coca-Cola is the 2-liter jar of Coca-Cola is placed beside its mineral water. It is also some edibles are also in there, in and around. So, in the food rack. So, it could be understood by the customer that okay, Coca-Cola could be consumed with this kind of foods, this kind of food items. Okay, so, this is a kind of understanding because of the grouping of the product has been done. Many times in the this kind of retail supermarkets and all, they come up with different combo deals. They start giving lot of freebies also. So, then also we start associating the freebies with the product in many cases. And obviously, the closure. Then the next phase of perception is the stage of interpretation. Now, interpretation is the last stage of the perceptual process. In this stage, we attach a meaning to that stimuli. If the family is going to bring the grandparents to the house in accent car, accent sedan, we assume it as a family sedan. So, this is what we are assuming. We are giving some the way we have actually organized the information, grouped the information, that is how we are actually interpreting it. So, the interpretation of perceptual stimuli involves the application of learned correlation between the perceptual cues and signs and meanings to narrative stimuli. So, these associations are basically based on individuals' expectations, motivations and knowledge about the product, which I have already told. That what is the expectation of a customer from the product? Am I buying it as a family car? Am I buying it for my own individual consumption? So, am I buying a Raymond's garment to just for my comfort, or am I buying it to project me as a better social person or a complete man? What is the motivation? What is my expectation from this product? And what do I know about it? How much do I know? How much do I know about the fabric? So, that is how the interpretations are largely influenced by the customer's prior knowledge and experiences. So, a proper interpretation, if there is any wrong perception amongst the customer because the way you have projected the product, then that may lead to a product failure, whereas a successful creation of a perception may lead to the proper acceptability of the product. So, there are two, and the knowledge, by the term we said knowledge, that knowledge about the product, what this knowledge means, there are two different kinds of knowledges. What we say is schema and the other one is script. Schema is the structured collection of beliefs and sensations that a person possesses about objects, idea, people and situation. For example, Lux. For years together, Lux is being promoted by all leading heroines of the country, of Bollywood mainly. So, they claim also Sitaro ka Saundarya Sabun, and we also assume it in that same way. So, that is how this concept of Lux has been built up in our mind. Now, the challenge would be in this case when Lux is coming with its sandal variation. So far Lux was for all chemical aromas were there. Now, with sandal variation, with rose variation, when it is coming, it is very closely linked to some kind of natural or herbal kind of image. So, again they are leading the very famous film stars for this. Rose is being portrayed by Kareena Kapoor, who is one of the leading heroine at this moment. So, but still how it would be perceived by the customer is yet to be noted, because how they could be able to see it in that way, whether they still perceive it as Sitaro ka Saundarya Sabun only, or they perceived it as the natural advantage in the context of natural advantage of sandal, natural benefit of sandal. That has to be noted. The second type is the knowledge structure about the script, that is the action, a chronology maybe. Like I right now told about accent, which shows the chronology, that a child is going to bring the grandfather, or so, any chronology when a particular way the event is moving, and we perceive based on that. Like when even for Agarbatti, when it is shown that the Durga Puja is happening, then there is all the rituals of Durga Puja, and then a Bengali celebrity, for example, Saurabh Ganguly is promoting cycle brand Agarbatti or incense sticks. So, that clearly shows that it is for this religious occasions, it is also meant for the biggest festivals, and it is actually for all segments of the society. It is that is the way the information has moved, and based on our understandings about our own organizing capability, we can perceive it in this way. But again, perception varies from person to person, based on their own knowledge level, their own expectation from the product, their own motivation from the product. So, there are two more concepts which I would like to mention here. Is A, the concept of consumer imagery. Imagery is the association of attributes a brand gets coupled with over a period of time. Like Dabur, from a period of time we assume it as a herbal toothpaste, sorry, as an herbal toothpaste or any kind of herbal product. If we say Vico, it is also perceived as a kind of herbal product. Himalaya is a herbal product, but at the same time when we talk about Colgate sensitive toothpaste, we are not talking about any herbal product in it. It is a chemical product, but it is meant for sensitive tooth. So, that is how the imageries are formed from the time immemorial, and usually, but that can be changed also. Marketer can obviously have the right to change the perception. I have already discussed the case of BMW Roadster, how the perception was changed for Roadster, which was a perception about Roadster was much different than the Bavarian mistake of BMW. So, that is okay. Chevrolet also has undergone the similar kind of philosophy which I have done. Then comes the perceptual distortion. There could be several kind of perceptual distortion or distorted perception, which may be known as halo effect. Halo effect is one of the way of perceptual distortion, which means that one trait of the product is actually by one trait of the product we are assuming about the all attributes of the product or the in general. For example, I do not like Amul milk, so I think Amul dahi is also bad, Amul yogurt is also bad. So, in that way, or say I feel Amul milk is a little sweet. If I perceive as Amul milk is sweeter, I will perceive as Amul yogurt also as sweeter. So, this is one by just one characteristic I am actually it is kind of shadowing the other characteristics of the product. So, this is known as perceptual distortion. Okay. So, there could be many ways of perceptual distortion, but one of the most important way is halo effect. So, in this context, for this perceptual distortion, there could be like when the in case of when we see that, so therefore, all the distortion which we mentioned by is in a perceptual distortion, one is halo effect, there could be some others as well which may be a distortion, because because of my knowledge level is different, because of my understanding might be little different. For example, Tanish, when it came in India, as I told you that it was perceived as a very only elegant brand, and the Indian customers generally did not like 18 karat gold. So, all 18 karat gold jewellery was viewed in a very skeptical way by the Indian customers, because that is not a jewellery gold for them. 22 to 24 carat is usually a jewellery gold for them. So, this kind of thing can also happen, though it is a good jewellery, but it may not be understood as a good jewellery, as because the customers have a very different type of predisposition in their mind. So, perceptual distortion may come from halo effect as well as lot of predisposition by the customers. So, we stop here with the concept of perception and the process of perception, and we will meet in the next session with a case study of perception. Thank you.